I'm Bethany Raybourn. I'm a singer-songwriter. I live in Ruston, Louisiana. I do songwriting as just a means of artistic expression personally. And I guess professionally during the day, I'm actually an English teacher. I'm an educator for middle school students. So I'm here in town. I kind of stick with a lot of rootsy Americana. I guess growing up, I heard a lot of like folk music and more of the Americana roots rock growing up, and that sort of, I guess, influenced just my basic understanding of the music world in a lot of ways. And I learned to like play by ear. Doing that, I played in church growing up. I played and sang in church growing up, so that kind of got me on like an experience level with performing. And I kind of worked through just some different phases of, I guess, music that influenced my writing and my performing. I kind of got my start, I guess, once into adulthood. I was really into a lot of like indie rock, and so that kind of definitely gave me a little bit of groundwork to kind of marry those influences of the roots rock Americana and my indie rock influences kind of, I guess, come together and inform a lot of my writing as well. I'm inspired by just my own personal experiences and what particular experiences I can use to process through writing songs. And so that's kind of a broad, I guess, umbrella of like inspiration, just personal experiences. But that does include, for me, a lot of conversations that I'm either a part of or that I, hear and can either relate to someone else conveying their experience, and I somehow can, I guess, identify with that and convey it in my own way. But I guess also I'm inspired by just reading and listening to other artists and writers, songwriters, but also with literature. So a lot of it too is I want to create something that others can relate to as well, that other people, when they hear it, whether it's just, hanging on a certain line of my song, it might be obviously interpreted differently to the listener, but still something that they can kind of hang their own hat on, I guess. So in my process, I just kind of keep a working log of ideas, and they may or may not be related or connected at all. So as they come to me, I try to log it down and then like make sense of it later on in the process. So when I feel like really led to flesh it out, I'll kind of look at like what I have and see what I really want to, a line or just a few words or a phrase or something, and just kind of build out from there. As far as, I guess, like putting that to music or translating that into music, I like to kind of sit with the words for a while, and then I'll kind of start to play with phrasing and, singing over it to find a melody that feels right. And until I have a melody that just really makes sense with what idea I'm trying to convey. And so, from there, I just keep building it out and then refine, because, I kind of struggle with like, do I want to be really vague here and thematic, or do I want to be really literal in this part of the song? So I try to, I guess, marry the two. I feel like I try to stick to something that's going to be timeless, and that I know that if I listen to it, or I'm performing it in 10 or 15 years from now that hopefully that I'll still like it and that I can still connect and to that piece of work. And so, as much as I want people to connect to it, I also have to remind myself that this is a process that I do for me, and that it is really just a way for me to embrace what I'm experiencing and, um, elaborate on the feelings that I have through song. And I also have to make sure that like I don't have a specific end result in mind. I just kind of find that's like a pattern for how I write, is that I can't be like, I'm going to write a song about this one specific thing and it's going to be all about this one topic. I just kind of have to have like the little kernel of that idea or that experience and build out from there, and then refine it and fine tune it until I feel like I've said what I wanted to say. I accepted the invitation to do this residency because I just having all this time at home lately, I really just needed a push to really flesh out a lot of the ideas and feelings that I was having and experiences that I was having, even just being at home. And so I felt like I was at a point where I'd kind of sidelined myself and my art for a while, and I just haven't really created a whole lot in recent years. And so I just really needed a little push to get back into it and to sit with myself and really decide what it is I want to put out there in song. And so I just kind of really used it as an opportunity to try to get something done music wise. And it's kind of been a slow process for me, but I've made some progress and I've written a couple of things. And so now I'm kind of at the point where I'm trying to finalize those details and at least have like a couple of, things to me that are, or what would to me would be a strong song by the end of this. So it's been a lesson to me of like discipline and just trying to make something that wasn't there before this whole thing started for me. And I just want to know that when this is all over, that I didn't like waste this opportunity and not having created anything at all. So yeah, I just really wanted to just take advantage of the opportunity that was extended by the invitation. So, okay, so this song that I was working on is, and I'm almost finished, is basically just little conversations that I had during like those first few weeks where we were pretty much in total isolation, and it was just my husband and I at home together. And so I just kind of took like little bits of conversations that kind of came out of that time. And I'm kind of putting that together with a lot of these like revelations that I had during those moments, or kind of little parts of our conversations that just wound up being in my little log of ideas. So I've built out from there. So that one's almost finished. And then I have another one that I'm working on that's about all the places that we have talked about going, like when this is all over, that are now sort of like mythologized, I guess. I just don't know, like we had all these travel plans and everything, and now I don't really know when we'll get to all of those places. So I tried to, I guess, immortalize what they were to us at the time in this song, if that makes any sense. But one of them one little idea is that we went to Mount Driscoll on a hike, and which is the tallest point in Louisiana at 535 feet. And so, and I'd been before, and but we went, and my husband came with me, and it was the first time he had been since he was like a kid, maybe a teenager. And so we get to the top, and we're looking out, and there's, if you've ever been up there, there's like Mount Jordan, which is just across the way, and it appears to be higher. And so we kind of like had this thing that we kept saying, like, well, we have to get to Mount Jordan, like we have to get there. And so anyway, so I'm kind of working with that idea of just the places that we said that we want to go. And this is really all over, which I know like people are going places now, but I still just don't feel like it's just like there for me. But we'll get there. So